Hello everyone, welcome back to Vietnamese channel and hello Dr. Pham.
Good day and hello everyone.
Well, usually I always say quý vị ơi, but now since this is the very first video that we do in English, so there may be some words that I'm missing, but excuse me. The importance of this video, we want for the young people to understand what's going on. I know there's a lot of channels that speak in English, but I think it's important for us to speak on the behalf of Vietnamese American or on the perspective of the Vietnamese American. And I'm so happy to have Dr. Phạm Hiệu Liêm here on the channel with us, because without his encouragement, I would not sit in here and host this video in English right here. First of all, thank you. And can you share the experience why you want to do this video in English?
Well, Rachel and I, we've been doing these programs for Vietnamese Americans for a long time now. And we've been dealing with medical issues, common health problems. And we also talk about history, cultures, and politics among Vietnamese Americans. We spoke in Vietnamese, and many Vietnamese Americans of generation 1 and 1.5 have been very appreciative of it. And recently, because of the elections coming, many of them approached me and asked that we do it in English so that we can share and they can share this experience with their descendants. And so, as you know, I am the Vietnamese American generation 1.0. I came here as a young man at the age of 25, 50 years ago. So now I'm 75, almost turned 76.
I thought you were 21.
And Rachel is a generation 1.5. And you came in this country when you was how old?
I came to U.S. when I was 15.
15, yes. So if you are talking about English-speaking people, everyone who speaks English will have an accent. And if you grow up in a certain area, then you grow up and acquire the local or regional accent. If you move into a community before you turn 12, then you will acquire the accent of that area. But if you move between the age of 12 and 16, then you may or may not have local accent. And then if you move into an area after you have turned 16, 18, then you will have your own accent. So English is a language that starts in England. It's not started in the United States. So English people have their own accent. And within England, if you live in London, you have a different accent than if you grew up in Liverpool, England. And if you live in Ireland, you live in Scotland, you have different accents. If you live in Australia, you have a different accent. You live in Canada, you have a different accent. You live in India or South Africa, you have different accents. And of course, if you live in the United States, you have different accents. Even within the United States, if you live in New England, you have a northern New England accent. And if you live in the South, then you have the Southern accent. And within New York City, you have people who live in Manhattan that have a different accent than people who live in Brooklyn. So everyone who speaks English has an accent. And I have my own accent. Rachel has her accent. But the goal is when you speak in English, you want to communicate and express your idea and make people understand what you want to say. That's the most important thing. So today we're going to talk about Vietnamese Americans in the United States and why we're here, how many of us are here, what can we do, and what does this coming presidential election means to us. So Rachel, you have a question for me?
Yes. Okay, so as you can hear from Dr. Phạm Hiệu Liêm, and he said he came to US when he's like around 20-ish, 24 years old. Just a quick questions about the English accent a little bit. When you first came over, did you have a challenge with English, or you already knew the English before you came here?
I already knew English before I came to the States. The reason that I was sent to the States for further education in my medical field was because I passed the English exam. It's called the ESL. English is a second language. And at that time, the standard was that if you score for more than 90, you can come to the United States and doesn't have to study further English. And so I scored 92 or 93, I believe. So I was lucky. And so I came to Texas. The first 2 months or 3 months in Texas, I had the fear of answering telephone because, you know, when I spoke to some Americans, whites or black or Hispanics, Americans in Texas, I had no problem. But if they call me on the phone, sometimes I can't understand what they were saying. And so it was a little harder for me because I couldn't use my hand to express myself. And so, but after about 3 months, I started getting used to it. And so I was one of the lucky ones.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, should I call you Dr. Pham or Dr. Lim? Because
Dr.
in Vietnamese,
Lim.
we Bác sĩ Lim, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you why I'm Dr. Lim and I'm still Dr. Lim.
Okay.
Lim became my last name. The first couple of days I was at the medical facility back then in 1974, 75. They paged me on the public speakers. Back then, there was no pager. Yeah. There was no cell phone. You're either an old-fashioned phone or you had to get off the hook with the line, or they page you within the facility using the public speakers. And so I was called into the CEO or commander of the hospital. I was in the Air Force at the time and was scolded because I didn't answer my page. And so I said, how you page me? Say, we page you Dr. Pham. I said, in my country, they call me Dr. Lim. So he said, well, let's change your last name into Lim. So we'll page you Dr. Lim from now on. We have had some doctors from Indonesia with similar issues, so I wasn't the first one that they have to do that. Apparently the Indonesians use their first name as last name.
Oh, okay.
So back then, 1974, there weren't many Vietnamese in the United States. And so it became my last name till now. So I'm still
interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. As you know, right, like with Vietnamese, we call each other by first name, but then in English, we call by last name. So sometimes it's a little confused, but it's great to be clarified with Dr. Lim. So now we know how to call him. Okay, first of all, I know some of you have watched the video for a long time or follow Vietnamese channel for a long time, so you know both of us. But for some of you, maybe because this video is in English and this is your first time come to watch the video, so I want to introduce to you Dr. Pham Hiếu Lim a little bit. Currently, he is the president of VAC, Vietnamese American Conservative Alliance. So there's a website right here. If you go to their website, freedom-vaca.org, it will take you directly to their webpage. And then you can see a lot of articles of all the members who post very regularly in Vietnamese, and some of them, they post in English as well. And then when you go in here, you can see some of the article Dr. Lim write as well. And I want to introduce to you a little bit. Okay, Dr. Pham Hiếu Lim. He was a Jackson T. Stephens Professor and Vice Chairman of Donald Reagan's Department of Geriatrics at the University of Arkansas for Medical Science, UAMS. He also served as Associate Chief of Staff for Geriatrics and Extended Care at the Central Arkansas Veterans Health System Unit until his retirement in 2013. Since then, Dr. Lim has been a member on the board of directors of Progressive Elder Care Services, Inc. He was born in Huế, Vietnam, and graduated with top honor from Quốc học High School in 1966. Dr. Lim earned his medical degree from the University of Saigon Medical School in 1973, where he was a top graduate of the 20 Arvin Medical Corps. Dr. Lim entered the U.S. in 1974 for flight surgeon training in San Antonio, Texas. He later served as a resident in family medicine at UAMS and became the chief resident in 1979 to 1980. Dr. Lim was a fellow in geriatric medicine at UAMS from 1980 to 1982, when he began his study in dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and the effects of nootropics and psychotropic agents in the elderly. Dr. Lim is highly regarded a geriatrician, teacher, administrator. He was honored with the Red Sash Teaching Award 12 times by the UAMS College of Medicine graduating seniors. He was chosen by his peers to be listed in Best Doctor in America twice in 1996 and 1998. And has been included in the Castle and Connolly's America Top Doctors 2000, 2002, 2003, and 2004 editions. And Dr. Lim was a member of the American Geriatric Society, and he was also a member of the Gerontological Society of America. He was lecturer in public extensively about dementia and geriatric healthcare. So we are so great to have you here. Okay, so another thing that we want to talk about as well is in America right now, we have over 2.3 million Vietnamese American, and we left Vietnam to come to America because of freedom, because of faith and family. We want to hear your thoughts about that as well.
Well, yeah, I came to the United States in later part of 1974.
Yeah.
And so, but in 1975, as you know, at the end of April, Communist North Vietnam took over the Republic of South Vietnam, which was a free republic, a free nation. We were taken over by the communism. At that time, the American allies evacuated about 150,000 South Vietnamese, including the people that they know that if stay behind will be harmed, will be killed, and some of their direct relatives. So that's the first wave of refugees that resettled legally in the United States. They came to various refugee camps at Fort Chaffee in Arkansas, at Camp Pendleton in California, and at Fort Indian Town Gap in Pennsylvania. After the first wave, people started resettle in all the communities, but they started to move to California, Northern and Southern California, also to Texas, especially in the Houston area. And later, some of them moved to the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. suburb. Then between 1977 and until the end of 1980s decade, there was Vietnamese people who could not tolerate lives under communism. They value freedom, they value justice. They were deprived freedom and was treated unfairly, unjustly by the new communist regime. And their life was in such deprivations of everything that they made the decision of live free or die. If you think of some slogan in the United States, like I think the state of New Hampshire or something like that, and they say live free or die, and that was back in the American Revolution. But these Vietnamese refugees of the so-called boat people of the 1980s, they make that choice. And so they took their families and got into unseaworthy, rickety boat and went out to the sea and tried to escape to Malaysia, to the Philippines, and all surrounding countries in Southeast Asia. And many of them have died at sea, and many of them have been robbed and killed by pirates, but many of them survived. Those survivors was relocated, many to the United States, some to Canada, Australia, and some country in Europe. They rediscovered freedoms and liberty. And so many of them who settled in the United States became successful. You know, the first wave of refugees, most of them became successful because they were mostly educated people who was working for the American government or armed forces or companies, so they already have some English, knowledge of English. So the first wave was resettled without much difficulties. The second wave, you know, they survived the rough seas. They didn't die. They found freedom, and they rediscovered freedom and opportunities in the United States. And they worked very hard to better themselves and also raise a family. Many of these 1.5 generations grew up, become successful. Many of the 2.0 and 2.5 also became successful. These are people, Vietnamese Americans, people that I like to talk to, and with Rachel. Later in 1990s, because of several 100,000 of refugees resettled in the United States, have their families still in Vietnam, and American government under President Reagan have humane operation, HO, and they get the South Vietnamese government officials and military people who were imprisoned in re-education camps of the communists was mistreated severely, and some have relatives already in the United States to come over in the humane operation, reunite with their families. And for that, number of Vietnamese refugees and the people, Vietnamese immigrants, legally came to the United States, to grow gradually to currently about 2.3 million people in the United States. So of the 330 something million people, we are less than 1%. However, we became a force in some of the elections. And if we can play electoral games, be mature about it, we can be a political force. Right now, you know, many of us successful in academia, in business, in everything. One thing that United States offers that few other, even free countries offer is that the opportunities for everyone to succeed. You can have diplomas and certificates and so on, and that's fine. But you can be owner of small businesses, provided some services, and you can be doing very well in the United States, more so than other countries around the world. So with the success, we still right now don't have much political cloud, except in certain very narrow communities, overwhelming majorities of residents of Vietnamese descent, of Vietnamese origins. But we can be stronger if we get a little bit more mature about politics. And that's why Rachel and I would like to talk about it.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Liam, for sharing that. And I know many of you, the young generation listening to this video, I'm pretty sure that you can relate for whatever reason that your parents came here or you came here later on. But one thing that we appreciate America is the freedom that we have, and the land of opportunity is give us the opportunity to become whoever we want if we're willing to work hard for it, right? And as you know, Dr. Lim, he's very busy with his life and his community work, and I'm busy with my life with children and family and other work as well. But why we sitting here do this video? Every week we produce about 4 to 5 videos. But why we put more time to do this? Right? Because we love America. We want to make sure this coming up November election, we need to vote for the right candidate. We need to vote for the right party. And one of the things I want to show you, Bác sĩ Lim, do you receive this at your house sometimes?
No, I have not.
In Georgia, they send out to my house. It's a Pay by America pack. Okay. Yes, I want to hear your thought about this one. This is the final battle.
I'm glad you bring it up because Georgia is a battleground state, so you get more attention than where I live. Where I live, pretty much 60% of the populace will vote for President Trump, so that's so easy. You know, the United States have two major parties, Republican Party or the GOP, Grand Old Party, or Democrats, which is the other major party. And in the past, they both work for American people. Republican is a little bit for businesses, and the Democrats are a little bit more for laborers. And so that's a balance in political powers that's healthy for the society. But in the last decade or so, the Democrat parties gradually became more leftist. And instead of just being liberal, as it was said, Republican, conservative, Democrats became leftist, especially after the fall of the Soviet Union. All of a sudden, all this demand for justice and equity become the calling for the leftist Democrats. And I'm all for justice, but I'm for equality, with this equal opportunity and equal protection under the laws. That's what the American tradition and the American Constitution call for. But the Democrats demand equity. Equity is not equality. Equality is we all treated the same. Equity is that we all receive the same. In terms of receiving the same, the government take the role of distributors, and they will distribute materials to all the populace. And if that's happened, that is communism. And the government will control your food, the government will control your everything. You don't own anything, and you're supposed to be happy because the government will provide everything for you. That is just not true in practice. And Vietnamese have run away from communism because that's what communists do. And they are Marxists. In theory, that might be appealing, but in practice, it brings poverty, deprivations. People with connections, or if you are Communist Party members, then you have better material-wise than if you're not a Communist Party member. And that's very unfair, because in the free society, everyone should have the opportunity to better themselves. So we don't want that kind of tyranny under communism. And right now, the Democrats is gradually become that way. Under the last 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration, their leftist policy, especially the Green New Deal, have brought about inflation, and they have opened the borders and uncontrolled immigrations, increased the crime rates in communities, and they also have caused, indirectly, but caused wars in the Ukraine and now in the Middle East. Before that, we have 4 years under President Donald Trump, where he applied the practice of freedom, liberty in a civic national society. And under that, we have peace, we have prosperity, we have no inflation, and we have security until the pandemic hit us. So then things got turned upside down. But over 3 years, we had very good years under the Trump administration. So we want to get back to the stage of peace, prosperity, and have protection at the borders. That means 3 Ps that we only have under the administration of the new Republican Party under President Trump, who is care more about the working people, the laborers, more than just for business like the old Republican Party. And the Democrats, in the last few months, have become a different party because for about 3 years, they lied to American people about how good and how strong and how clear-minded President Biden has been. But then he was exposed during the debate in July of this year, and he turned out to be demented and very frail. And because of that, the Democrat Party, despite their arranged primary election for Biden to be the nominee again, they dumped him. Mm-hmm. And then they put Harris on there. So they no longer a Democratic Party, and they don't respect democracy. They become a top-down instead of bottom-up. If you have a democracy, it has to be bottom-up. So now they are top-down. They force candidates onto the populace. So they become a plutocracy instead of democracy. Meanwhile, Republicans still a democracy, and we hope to win this election, restore democracy to the United States, and reject this Democrat plutocracy once and for all. This is so much of tyranny that we run away from, and we can't allow that to happen again here. Some of my classmates came from North Vietnam. Their family have escaped North Vietnamese communists in 1954 when my friends were still children. And many of them then have to, escape to the United States one more time. So in their own lives, they've been refugees twice. That's enough. Then just like the Jews after World War II, the Vietnamese Americans have to say, never again, never again. So we have to win this election. We cannot let the Marxist Democrat, top-down plutocrats to rule us. We have to restore democracy. We have to bring back the democracy by electing President Donald Trump and J.D. Vance as vice president.
Yes. Awesome. What do you guys think about what Dr. Lim just shared with you? For myself, if you've been watching our video, for myself, I'm completely vote for a Republican. I vote for Trump. How about you? And what is your reason, right? More than ever, we need to find the leader who put the country first, especially the freedom. You don't want anybody come with this one, the symbol of communism. We don't want this. Definitely not, right?
No. And, the Biden administration with Kamala Harris as vice president already violated the Constitution. They control the freedom of speech and expression. They colluded with social media and controlled American speech and thought. And that was exposed after Elon Musk bought the Twitter and bringing out all the evidence in the Twitter files. And that was bad enough. But then later, they use DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. On practice, sounds pretty good, but actually in reality, Vietnamese Americans, because we do well in academia and we do well in exams, we score high, then they use DEI to refuse admissions for Vietnamese Americans to certain institutions and give it to the undeserved one. But at the professional levels, we were not hired because we're doing too well. We score too high. And so they give it to some undeserving people. And the American society within 2-3 years have become more incompetent. We can see what happened to Boeing. We can see what happened to Boeing sending the astronaut into the space and got stuck in there for several months now. Meanwhile, at a company like SpaceX of Elon Musk, they don't use DEI, and they work efficiently, and they're going to hopefully rescue those 2 astronauts up there. But that's just an example. There's many other examples of DEI harming American society and Vietnamese Americans and Asian Americans victims of that practice, because there's no such thing as equity. We all believe in equality. We support equality, but we have to reject all this siren song of this equity, of this, utopia, communist utopia. It's just, it's just not unrealistic. It's been failed many times before, and now they want to apply it in the United States, and it's going to it already have bad effect. But we have this election to turn things around, and we have to vote for ourselves, for our freedom, liberty, and to stop the practice of discriminate Asian Americans just because we are so successful.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Lim, for sharing your wisdom. And what do you guys think? And what topic you want us to cover? Please place a comment down here, okay? And then we will read your comment, and some of your suggestion will be a topic that we can discuss for the next few videos as well. So don't hesitate to write comment down here. Is there anything else you want to add on before we finish this video?
Well, Vietnamese Americans as a group doing well in all aspects of American lives. Of course, in any group, there will be some, black, black sheep, and we do have Vietnamese Americans who do criminal things as well. But by and large, we are a successful group, and the first generations have sacrificed a lot and have taken some great risk to be here. And you are generation 2, 2.5 and beyond. You have to live up to their sacrifice. You have to celebrate them by upholding freedom and liberty and denouncing communism and socialism, at all costs. We have to win this election. There's TIM Wong's on the Vice President slot for Kamala Harris. He's a fan of Mao Zedong and the Communist Party of China. So he might even be, right now, we can say that he is a sympathizer, but who knows, he might be an asset for the CCP. And that, is unacceptable.
Yes, maybe the next topic we can cover about CCP, how they want to dominate, how they want to lead the world, and how they competing with America right now in terms of like dollar and economic worldwide as well.
Yes, right. That's right. So next week we'll talk about that topic.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And please click like button and share the video as well. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time. Bye, Dr. Lim, and bye, everybody.
Thank you. And goodbye.